Hello, BookTube. At this point, I should probably just move to Portland, Oregon, shouldn't I? Last week, Powell's, the great bookstore in Portland, Oregon, had a 20% off used books sale, and I jumped on that sale and bought quite a pile of books. And they came in today, so let's get started with them. I've already alphabetized them, although I have not yet logged them into my library catalog. So I'm going to start with two books by Pat Barker, starting with Regeneration. In 1917, Siegfried Sassoon, noted poet and decorated war hero, publicly refused to continue serving as a British soldier in World War I. His reason: the war was a senseless slaughter. He was officially classified mentally unsound and sent to Craiglockhart War Hospital. There, a brilliant psychiatrist, Dr. William Rivers, set about restoring Sassoon's sanity and sending him back to the trenches. This novel tells what happened as only a novel can. It is a war saga in which not a shot is fired. It is a story of a battle for a man's mind in which only the reader can decide who is the victor, who the vanquished, and who the victim. It is one of the most amazing feats of fiction of our time. Regeneration is the first novel in Pat Barker's acclaimed World War I trilogy, which continues with The Eye in the Door and culminates in the 1995 Booker Prize-winning The Ghost Road, which I bought first and have already read and really enjoyed. And so I'm now adding the first two books in the Regeneration trilogy to my library. So, speaking of that second novel, The Eye in the Door. Pat Barker's brilliant anti-war novel, Regeneration, was widely hailed as a masterpiece and was named by the New York Times Book Review as one of the 4 best novels of 1992. The second novel in her World War I trilogy, The Eye in the Door, won the Guardian Fiction Prize for 1993. It is the spring of 1918, and Britain is faced with the possibility of defeat by Germany. A beleaguered government and a vengeful public target two groups as scapegoats: pacifists and homosexuals. Many are jailed, others lead dangerous double lives, and the Eye in the Door becomes a symbol of the paranoia that threatens to destroy the very fabric of British society. Central to this novel are such compelling, richly imagined characters as the brilliant and compassionate Dr. William Rivers, his most famous patient, the poet Siegfried Sassoon, and Lieutenant Billy Pryor, who plays a central role as a domestic intelligence agent. The Eye in the Door is a triumph that equals Regeneration and the third novel in the trilogy, the 1995 Booker Prize-winning The Ghost Road, establishing Pat Barker's place in the very forefront of contemporary novelists. Next up is Outline by Rachel Cusk. Outline is a novel in 10 conversations. Spare and lucid, it follows a novelist teaching a course in creative writing over an oppressively hot summer in Athens. She leads her student in storytelling exercises. She meets other writers for dinner. She goes swimming in the Ionian Sea with her seatmate from the plane. The people she encounters speak volubly about themselves, their fantasies, anxieties, pet theories, regrets, and longings. And through these disclosures, a portrait of the narrator is drawn. By contrast, a portrait of a woman learning to face a great loss. So, I've been wanting to read something by Rachel Cusk for quite a while and picked up Outline. Next is Thank You, Mr. Nixon by Gish. This is a short story collection. Beginning with a cheery letter penned by a Chinese girl in heaven to poor Mr. Nixon in hell, Gish embarks on a fictional journey through U.S.-China relations, capturing the excitement of a world on the brink of tectonic change. Opal Chin reunites with her Chinese sisters after 40 years. Newly cosmopolitan Lulu Ku wonders why Americans like to walk around in the woods with mosquitoes. And Hong Kong parents go to extreme lengths to reestablish contact with their number one daughter in New York. With their profound compassion and equally profound humor, these stories trace the intimate ways in which humans make and are made by history. Delightful, provocative, and powerful, Thank You, Mr. Nixon captures an extraordinary era in an extraordinary way. A book only Gish could write. It furnishes yet more proof of her eminent place among American storytellers. So, really looking forward to this. Next is Palmares by Gayl Jones. First discovered and edited by Toni Morrison, Gayl Jones has been described as one of the great literary writers of the 20th century. Palmares is the first new work of hers to be published in 20 years, rewarding longtime fans and bringing her gifts to a new generation of readers. Intricate and compelling, the book recounts the journey of Almeida, a black slave girl who comes of age on Portuguese plantations and escapes in search of a fugitive slave settlement called Palmares. Combining a mastery of language and voice with her unique brand of mythology and magical realism, Jones reimagines the historical novel. So, quite looking forward to this. Next up is Clark Without Hands by Carson McCullers. Set in small-town Georgia on the eve of court-ordered integration, Clark Without Hands is Carson McCullers' final masterpiece, as well as her most poignant statement on race, class, and individual responsibility. The actors in this allegory are J.T. Malone, a lonely dying middle-aged druggist looking to redeem his misspent life, Fox Klein, a corrupt old judge and defender of the ways of the Old South, Jester Klein, the judge's orphan grandson, a directionless adolescent with a strong sense of social justice, and Sherman Pugh, an angry, blue-eyed black youth in search of his own identity. Their interlocking stories are told with that unique mix of humor, irony, power, and love that marks all of McCullers' writing. So, quite happy to have this in my collection. Next up is a reacquisition, A Personal Matter by Kenzaburo, translated from the Japanese by John Nathan. And there is no... Okay. So there's no blurb on the back, but this is a story of a father dealing with his mentally disabled son. And it is based in large part on Oe's own relationship with his mentally disabled son. I had this book well over 20 years ago and read it and really enjoyed it and stupidly got rid of it. And I've been wanting to add it to my collection again for years now, and very happy to have it back in my collection. Next up is Tom Lake by Ann Patchett. In the spring of 2020, Lara's three daughters returned to the family's orchard in northern Michigan. While picking cherries, they begged their mother to tell them the story of Peter Duke, a famous actor with whom she shared both a stage and a romance years earlier at a theater company called Tom Lake. As Lara recalls the past, her daughters examine their own lives and relationships with their mother and are forced to reconsider the world and everything they thought they knew. Tom Lake is a meditation on youthful love, married love, and the lives parents lead before their children were born. Both hopeful and elegiac, It explores what it means to be happy even when the world is falling apart. As in all her novels, Ann Patchett combines compelling narrative artistry with piercing insights into family dynamics. The result is a rich and luminous story told with profound intelligence and emotional subtlety that demonstrates once again why she is one of the most revered and acclaimed literary talents working today. So I've been wanting to read something by Ann Patchett for quite a number of years now, and I've heard that she gets better with every novel. So I wanted to try one of her newer novels first. Excuse me. Next up is Detransition Baby by Torrey Peters. Reese almost had it all: a loving relationship with Amy, an apartment in New York City, a job she didn't hate. She had scrapped together what previous generations of trans women could only dream of: a life of mundane bourgeois comforts. The only thing missing was a child. But then her girlfriend Amy detransitioned and became Ames, and everything fell apart. Now Reese is caught in a self-destructive pattern, avoiding her loneliness by sleeping with married men. Ames isn't happy either. He thought detransitioning to live as a man would make life easier, but that decision cost him his relationship with Reese, and losing her meant losing his only family. Even though their romance is over, he longs to find a way back to her. When Ames's boss and lover, Katrina, reveals that she's pregnant with his baby, and that she's not sure if she wants to keep it, Ames wonders if this is the chance he's been waiting for. Could the three of them form some kind of unconventional family and raise the baby together? This provocative debut is about what happens at the emotional, messy, vulnerable corners of womanhood that platitudes and good intentions can't reach. Torrey Peters brilliantly and fearlessly navigates the most dangerous taboos around gender, sex, and relationships, gifting us a thrillingly original, witty, and deeply moving novel. So really interested to read this. Next up is Council of Dolls by Mona Susan Powell. The profoundly moving novel from PEN Award-winning author Mona Susan Powell, spanning 3 generations of Yukon Dakota women from the 19th century to the present day. Sissy, born 1961. Sissy's relationship with her volatile mother is difficult, even dangerous, but her life is filled with beautiful things, including a doll called Ethel. Ethel whispers advice and kindness in Sissy's ear, and in one especially terrifying moment, maybe even saves Sissy's life. Lillian, born 1925. Born in her ancestral lands in a time of terrible change, Lillian clings to her sister Blanche and her doll May. The sisters are forced to attend an Indian boarding school far from their home, and Blanche refuses to be cowed by the school's abusive nuns. But when tragedy strikes, May finds her way to defend the girls. Cora, born 1888. Born into the brutal legacy of the Indian Wars, Cora isn't afraid of the white men who remove her to a school to be civilized. When teachers burn her beloved beaded buckskin doll Winona, Cora discovers that the spirit of Winona may not be entirely lost. A modern masterpiece, A Council of Dolls is both quietly devastating yet ultimately hopeful. With stunning prose, Mona Susan Powell weaves a spell of love and healing that comes alive on the page. So this novel was longlisted for the National Book Award a few years ago, and was, I think, if I remember correctly, a sentimental favorite here on BookTube. Women Talking by Miriam Toews. One evening, 8 Mennonite women climbed into a hayloft to conduct a secret meeting. For the past 2 years, each of these women, and more than 100 other girls in their colony, has been repeatedly violated in the night by demons coming to punish them for their sins. Now that the women have learned that have learned they were in fact drugged and attacked by a group of men from their own community, they are determined to protect themselves and their daughters from future harm. While the men of the colony are off in the city attempting to raise enough money to bail out the rapists and bring them home, these women, all illiterate, without any knowledge of the world outside their community, and unable even to speak the language of the country they live in, have very little time to make a choice. Should they stay in the only world they've ever known, or should they dare to escape? Based on real events and told through the minutes of the women's all-female symposium, Toews' masterful novel uses wry, politically engaged humor to relate this tale of women claiming their own power to decide. I have been wanting to read this novel for years now, and I'm very happy to have it at last. And finally, Undiscovered by Gabriela, Wiener, translated from the Spanish by Julia Sanches. Alone in a museum in Paris, Gabriela Wiener is confronted by her complicated family heritage. Visiting an exhibition of plundered pre-Columbian artifacts, she sees sculptures of indigenous faces that resemble her own. But the man responsible for pillaging them was her own great-great-grandfather, Austrian colonial explorer Charles Wiener. In the wake of her father's death, Gabriela returns to Peru and begins to unpack the legacy that is her birthright. From the eye patch persona her father adopted to carry out his double life to the brutal racism she encounters in her ancestor Charles's book, she traces the cycle of abandonment, jealousy, and fraud, in turn reframing her own personal struggles with desire, love, and race. Probing wounds both personal and historical, Wiener's provocative novel enlists the reader on a quest to pick up the pieces of something shattered long ago in the hope of making it whole again. So, to Steve Pyramid this, I have Undiscovered by Gabriela Wiener, translated from the Spanish by Julia Sanches, Women Talking by Miriam Toews, Council of Dolls by Mona Susan Powell, Detransition Baby by Torrey Peters, Tom Lake by Ann Patchett, A Personal Matter by Kenzaburo, translated from the Japanese by John Nathan, Clock Without Hands by Carson McCullers, Palmares by Gayl Jones, Thank You, Mr. Nixon by Gish, Outline by Rachel Cusk, and the first two books in the Regeneration trilogy, The Eye and the Door, and Regeneration, both by Pat Barker. So I will now go and put these guys into the computer, these books into the computer, and log these books, enter these books into my library catalog, and also do the second of 3 hauls for University Press books, which I will do when the third of those arrive, which should be either tomorrow or sometime later this week. So anyway, BookTube, until I see you next time, thank you, have a great rest of your afternoon, and enjoy your afternoon.